Thank you again for attending. We will very glad that you were able to join us here. We have the same usual suspects with Casper Leonard. He is our Director of IT. Ken Smith will be handling the webinar for the most part today on our IRIS remote inspections. And then we also have Tom Emery and Ray Dennison, who are both on our programming crew and handling a lot of this programming as well on the back sides of it and the front interfaces. So all of us are here to help you and work through any questions you might have. But as I said, we're starting off with the remote inspections. This will replace the old IRIS version 9 remote function and module that we had. Some of you may have used it, but it got a little wanky in the end of it. So we want to upgrade that, and this is a nice upgrade that we can get everybody doing it. It'll allow you to work and do those inspections out in the field, whether you have internet or not, then get it back up to your database when you get back to the office, and even gives you the opportunity, and Ken's going to go over, it shows where the locations are on a GPS, and you can actually update those should they not be correct or were not put in correctly. So that's where we're headed today. And again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you have concerns, put them in the chat, and I will be monitoring that and try to get to that. But in the meantime, I'd like to turn it over to Ken Smith, our database administrator and GIS guru, as we like to call him, and he can go through this series with you. So thank you very much.
Well, as Greg said, my name is Ken Smith. I'm the database administrator, and I've been working on setting up the database for IRIS 10 and also working on the IRIS remote inspections along with Ray Dennison to replace the program that we had already. We do have a lot of smoke here in Salem, and so if you cough, if I hear me coughing, it's not because I have COVID, it's because there's a lot of smoke outside right now. Hopefully you're all staying safe and are not having to deal too much with these fires. So let me go ahead and get started with my presentation here. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And maybe sure I have the chat up to make sure if anybody has any questions, I can watch for that. So to get started, what is IRIS Remote Inspection? It is a Windows 10 laptop application that we've been developing, like I said, to replace the old IRIS 9 remote application. It works even if you're in the field and you're not connected to the internet. That's the major point of it, is to make sure that you can do things when you don't have connection to the internet. It allows you to enter your inspection information in the field. It allows you to update the feature map locations, and it synchronizes data with the IRIS database when you get back in the office. It will synchronize that with both IRIS 9 and IRIS 10. Currently, the application only supports signs and culverts. So here's what the workflow looks like. You start out in the office, and the first thing you're going to want to do is to get the current data and an offline map from the IRIS database. Then you go out into the field, you collect your inspection data, you enter the information into the IRIS remote application. If you have a better location information, a GPS point or something, you can update that features information, map location, while you're out in the field. Then you come back into the office and you push those new inspections and locations up to the IRIS database, and then you fetch the next current set of information, because information may have changed in IRIS while you were out in the field. You always get the most updated current information when you do your synchronization, and you just keep going around and around in that circle until you get everything inspected that you want, and that's how we maintain everything. So IRIS remote inspection starts out with you logging in, and you're going to be logging in using your IRIS 10 username and password. Once you first start get into IRIS remote, you will need to work with your administrator to make sure that you have an IRIS 10 username and password, and that you have been granted the security privileges to use the application. There's a basic menu to navigate the application that allows you to get through your culverts and your signs and options. It's pretty straightforward. And all the entry screens pretty much take this form here, where in this particular case, I'm looking at culverts. In this section is where you have the list of all your features. In this case, it's all the list of all the culverts. When you click on one of those culverts, if there is a map location recorded for that place, it will show up on the map as a blue triangle and zoom to it. And then finally down in the bottom section is where you would enter the inspection for that particular feature. In this case, like for example, it's a culvert, and it allows you to see the different culvert inspections that have been done for that one, as well as enter new ones. So I'm going to dive into each one of these sections a little bit more. The feature list, or in this case, the culvert list, allows you to interact and find the culverts that you're looking for. You can do that by sorting on the column headers. Just by clicking on this header once, we'll sort it forward. Click it again, it will sort it in reverse order, just like most things you've ever interacted with. You can filter it, so you can say, I want to find a specific road or any, and then there's also the ability to set some very complex equations, if you will, like is this equal to this or greater than that, that sort of stuff. You can make some advanced queries there if you like. Or on a simple thing, you can even do a full text search where whatever you type into the full text search, it will look in the entire grid for that particular text. And finally, there's a button there to update the map location. It will, that button, which I'll get to a little bit more later, will take you to the screen that will allow you to enter in the location of that particular culvert's location. The map itself provides a little bit of a user interface as well. Once you select one of those features, it will zoom to it if it has a point defined in the database. There's a offline map and an online map provided. The offline map is a simple map that gets downloaded to your application and is available to you when you are out in the field. If you don't have access to the internet, that's what you're going to be wanting to use. If you do have access to the internet, there's an online map that will show you the satellite imagery. So that it makes it a little bit easier to perhaps to find the features that you're looking for. It provides the ability to zoom in, zoom out, pan around, and all those typical things that you would expect to be able to do from a map interface. And then finally, the inspection portion of the form allows you to navigate through all the different inspections that have occurred on that particular feature, and allows you to add, edit, or delete inspections for that selected feature. And the OK and the cancels allows you to save those edits or abandon them if you get in the middle of typing and say, I just want to throw it away. You can just hit the cancel. So that's the basic user interface for entering the inspections. Of course, each of the different features have their own unique sets of information that you are collecting, and they're all geared towards that. So here's some of the rules about inspection entry. First of all, old inspections that come from IRIS are visible, but they're only for reference. They can't be changed. We don't want people changing the old inspections that have already been uploaded into the system. New inspections, the ones that you have entered since you synchronized, and you're out in the field and you're starting to enter some new ones, those all can be changed and deleted, but only prior to synchronization. Once they synchronize, they become old inspections. If you need to change one of those later, if you need to alter one of those inspections or delete one of those inspections that you uploaded, you will have to use the full IRIS program to do so. And just a real important note, this program doesn't allow you to change feature data other than updating its map location. For example, you can't use it to enter a missing culvert or sign. It's basically geared towards inspections and the locations of features. If you do click on that button here that allows you to update the location, it will pop up a screen that looks like this. This allows you to enter the location in a variety of different ways. You can either, if you have a GPS, a handheld GPS perhaps, and you get the location or off your phone or whatever, you can enter it manually, either in whatever format you're most comfortable using, whether that's degrees, minutes, or seconds, degrees and decimal minutes, or decimal degrees. If you enter the value in one of those boxes, it automatically computes the other two. If you don't have a GPS location that you want to enter, but you know that you can find it on the map, you can zoom in on the map, excuse me, and double click on the location that you want to use. Or you can choose this GPS location button, and that will use whatever location of the GPS unit that is attached to your laptop. It will use that to populate those fields as long as it's a supported GPS unit. Finally, once you get back into the office, you're going to need to synchronize that information to send it back to the server. The important things to remember is that you have to be connected to the internet to make that happen. When you do that, it's going to push up all those new inspections that have been collected. It's going to push up all those new map locations that you updated. And then it's going to turn around and bring down fresh data for all the tables that are used in the application. It does that because somebody back in the office may have changed some of that information while you were out in the field. We want to make sure that you always have the most up-to-date information possible for when you go out in the field. And then it's also going to download the most current offline map to make sure that if I make changes to those offline maps, that you can get the most current version possible. So that's nice to see on the slides. But what I'd like to do at this point is to kind of show you a live demo. That's always a scary thing, but we're going to go ahead and do that. So when I first come into Iris Remote, I'm going to get a login screen that looks something like this. And when I click and come into it, you can see that I'm in the application. I have a basic menu here. I can go to culverts, roads, and signs. I can see where this is where I can sync data and a little bit of a help and about. Pretty simple, straightforward. So let's go to culverts first. At this point, you can see I've got all my culverts listing here. I can scroll through and see that. When I click on one of them, let's grab this Ada station, it will zoom in and show me that point on the map. This interface allows you to do things like zoom in. You can change over to offline, perhaps. This is what the offline map looks like. And you can see that if I zoom way out, I only have an area for the county. So that's how we keep this from being such a huge file, is each county gets just a map for their area. We'll go ahead and zoom back in on that. And of course, again, you can zoom in, zoom out, either using your mouse roller balls, or you can use the little plus and the minuses to do that. Let's go back over to the offline, for example. I mean the online. And then I can see what that looks like. Okay, so the next thing I want to show is that to find the road or the culvert that you're interested in, you can do things like sort. I can sort this by descending, ascending, that's no sort, and then that's ascending. You can see that's easy to do. Let's say you were more interested in the road number. I can click on the road number, and then it sorts everything by road number. But then I also want to perhaps see it in milepost order. So then if I do a shift click on that, it will sort it by milepost as well. So all my 4Js get sorted in milepost order. It allows you to do things like doing a filter. For example, I may want to go and find all the Ada station loops. I hit filter. When I close that, I see that I have nothing but Ada station. Excuse me. I clear that filter, then I have all the roads again, and this is how the full text would work. So I might look for Ada. That's going to find it in any of the columns. The letters ADA. You can see I got Ada Station, but I also get Collins Road, Ada Station, and Adams Loop, and it highlights the text that it found in the string. I might also decide that, like you can do with Google search, I can say maybe I only want the ones that have Ada in them that are on the left-hand side of the road. We do that Bill's Road, and just the ones that are on the left-hand side of the road. Then you can see that's an easy way to limit yourself down to just the culverts that you're interested in seeing. Then when I come back here and clear that, I go back to seeing everything. I'm going to go back to just sorting it by name. Let's go here to Ada Station. And this is how I would go about viewing and working with the inspection portion. You can see here I've got my navigator that shows me the previous inspections. But you'll notice that over here on the right-hand side, the only thing that's live for me to choose is add. I can't change these historical inspections that came from the database. Well, I'll go ahead and add a new inspection. So then I just hit the new button, come over here and we'll do an inspection, say that it is corrugated steel and that it's separating. I'm not making anything in here that's make sense, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. And then I'll just put some comments there. Once you get done entering this information, you can click the OK button, and that will save it. And now, if you notice that when I come here to that, I do have the edit button. I can make changes to this one because it has not yet been synchronized with the database. And I can say, okay, let's make that. It was actually very poor. And I say, okay. Or I can delete that one if I don't want it. After all, I don't want to have it sent up to the database. So I'll go ahead and delete that at this point. Well, before I do that, I'll show you that the one that is an old one, I can't delete still. But only the ones that I have been working on since I've been out in the field are ones that I can edit or delete. When you delete it, gives you a little pop-up box that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Now, let's say that I wanted to change the location of this particular culvert. I could click on its location information, and it pops up a window that I'll make just a little bit bigger here for you, that shows me its current location. It allows me to either manually type it in, or let's say I wanted to set it right here in the middle of this island. I can just double click in the middle of that point right there, and it picks that point and it puts that GPS location there. Or I could type in manually, let's say that I wanted to move it a little bit. So that I can just type it in manually if I had it like on my phone or on a GPS unit. Or if you have a supported attached GPS to your laptop, then you can click on this button, which will take you to wherever you happen to be. This is where I'm at right now. This is my home. So that's where my computer thinks I'm at. So you have three different ways that you can go about entering the GPS location. When you say, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel on that, but when you say, oh no, I'll go ahead and say okay, and then it'll update that location and show you where you've been, where it's at now. And it'll let you know over here at the very end that we've got a new latitude and longitude, and it's going to be updated when you do your synchronization. So that's pretty much how all the screens will work. Is you have your, and I'll show you on the signs. Signs has its list of signs. It's got its map here. So if I click on one of these, It'll zoom you to where that particular sign is located. It's got its inspections down here. It behaves exactly just like the culverts. So if you know one, you know them all. And we also have, just for information purposes, a list of all the roads that you can, so you can know, here's how does 22nd Street, it's from the description of Reedsport city limits to junction of private road. So if you need to, for some reason, to look up which road you want, you need more information, that road list is there for your information. And then finally, once you get, once you get back into the office and you want to synchronize it, you would go to this option, synchronize data, and then it will pop up with this dialog box where you can start the synchronization that will push it back to the server. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because in this particular case, it takes about 3 to 4 minutes for that to do, because it's basically pushing up any changes that you made, and then it's bringing back the entire set of information as well as the map. So it takes about 3 or 4 minutes, depending on the amount of records you have and the speed of your internet. And then finally, there's just a little about button that will tell you a little bit about that. So that, in a nutshell, is how the application works. I'm going to tab back over now to my presentation, and let you know that we are at a stage with our development where we are ready for beta testing. That requires a laptop running Windows 10, the 64-bit operating system. Now, while we are looking for beta testers, there are some things that we need beta testers to know and understand. Is that there may be bugs, that's why we're doing this beta testing. There may be issues, and there may be multiple updates of the program during the beta process. But if you are interested, we would very much like to have you as a beta tester to help us identify things that may be problems, ways to make it better. Beta is not something that means that it's almost ready to be completely 100%. It means it's ready for testing, and we really, really want people to test it and use it and provide us feedback so that we can not have any problems or very few problems when we release it live. So just in summary, Iris Remote Inspection is going to replace the Iris 9 remote application. It requires a laptop with Windows 10 64-bit operating system. It allows for you to collect inspection information in the field without having to have internet connectivity. You could have internet connectivity with a Wi-Fi card or something, on an air card or something along those lines. And if you do that, then you could have access to the higher end aerial photography maps. It allows you to update map locations while you're out in the field. The data is synchronized when you get back into the office, and that will synchronize back to both Iris 9 and Iris 10. It currently supports the inspections for signs and culverts. It is not a road feature inventory collection tool, though. You cannot use it to collect missing signs or culverts. And we are looking for beta testers to help us identify bugs and provide feedback. So now I'd like to turn it over for any questions you might have. You can type them into the chat or shout something out for us. Be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Got one that came in, Ken. Should I synchronize before I go out in the field? Is that like an everyday?
Yes, that would be, well, it depends. The very first time that you run the application, you have to synchronize before you go out in the field, just so you have data.
Okay.
Now, you're out in the field and you are doing inspections. If you are happy with those inspections and you don't want to make any changes to them, then yes, you can synchronize when you come back into the office. If you have already synchronized like the night before, and you want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date stuff before you go out in the field, like maybe it's been a week or two since the last time that you've been out, then yes, definitely. But you want to make sure that the inspections that are in there are ones that you want to flow up into the system, because if you're not quite ready for them and you synchronize, they're going to be up there. And
Great.
then I see, good.
Yeah, we have another one. Will this ever be available to use on a tablet, or will it stay laptop based?
At this point, it requires Windows 10 to run. So if your there are tablets like Surface Pros and whatnot that you may be able to use. We haven't tested them with them, but I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to work on a Windows 10 based tablet like a Surface Pro or something. They won't work with something like an iPad or an Android device though.
Okay, and I think that answers the other question about, is this app for Windows? So yeah, that is the main one, correct? Windows application?
That is correct.
Good. Any other questions that people would like to ask? Well, as Ken was saying, and as we see there, you can see there's a lot of contacts. Again, as you think of things, please send us information in requests. If you want to find out more about being a beta tester, to try some of this out. And actually, I had a question on that. So if I'm doing this in the beta testing, Ken, will this data get over to version 9 if I want to get the sign inspection things over to version 9 as well, or do I have to do multiple entries?
No, it will. When you do your synchronization, even in the beta testing mode, it will flow into Iris 9 and into Iris 10 both. So you don't have to do anything special unless there's a bug or a problem, and then which we will like to try to identify and fix.
Okay, good. So it's like do it in the field and it'll actually get right over to version 9 as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another question, it looks like, why does it not create new features?
Yes, there was a lot of discussion about creating new features. And one of the things that we require of new features is that it goes through quite a bit of a vetting process. We want to make sure that everything conforms to a standard, that it's reviewed by the correct people. And so there was a lot of concern about how new features, new culverts, new signs, things like that, flow into the system and not cause problems and create just a big pot of a mess, if you will. So that's why Iris Remote has always been and continues to be focused on inspections, which have some vetting already built into them when they come into them. So that is the primary reason for there not being the ability to create stuff out in the field. However, there is an option that we're working on with the Iris program, the full-blown Iris program. When you enter features with the Iris program, it does all that kind of vetting and makes sure that everything behaves correctly. And Iris is moving to a web-based application. So if you're in the field, and a lot of counties do have the ability now to have things connected while they're out on most of the roads, in many counties, not everywhere, but if you do have the ability to be connected through an air card or a mobile hotspot or something, you could actually run the Iris, full-blown Iris 10 application and collect features and do everything that you want to do out in the field, as long as you trust and are happy with your field staff doing that.
Great. Any other questions we'd like to try to place Stump Ken on? Well, we appreciate your time. We're looking for those beta testers. Please contact us at the emails at the bottom of your screen there and let us know, and we'll figure out a good time where we can walk you through the process, get it on those laptops and get you out in the field and doing the things that you would like to do with remote inspections. We thank you for your time and look forward to our next webinar in a couple of weeks, maybe the second week of October. We're going to look at actually the inventory process and try to make sure that we get the best practices and get you folks thinking about and working on the best practices for inventory. And we can discuss how you're doing it and how you might want to do it or any changes that you have. So look for that. That'll be coming in probably about 3 to 4 weeks, and we'll send you out information on that one. Until that time, stay safe, and thank you for attending, and please let us know if you'd like to beta test. Have a good day.